Olivia, my sister, mentioned they're coming over tomorrow afternoon. I'm sorry for always causing you trouble. Oh, really? No problem. Should I prepare some snacks for tomorrow morning? I apologize that this keeps happening. It's like they don't have any boundaries. It's fine. I recently heard about a cute pastry place from a colleague. I'll go there to buy something. Aaron, my husband, is a 35-year-old office worker, 3 years older than me. We met at the office and got married later. He's always confident and a truly wonderful husband. He's such a nice guy and he is popular with the ladies. He is 178 centimeters tall and looks slim, with a well-proportioned face. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say 100 out of 100 people would find him handsome. If he's good-looking and considerate, it's not surprising he is popular. However, it may be surprising that such a man married a tomboyish woman like me. Whatever age looks, especially his sisters, seem to feel strongly about this. Aaron, look, I got the recipe from my shop and made this myself. Wow, you cooked this. That's a surprise. You've never cooked before. Great job. Isn't this cool? I will enjoy it with Olivia later. Aaron, guess what? I've been getting a lot of praise at my new job. They say I'm good at what I do. Amelia, it sounds like things are going well for you. It's great that you're being recognized. You're doing an excellent job. The two sisters-in-law, Emma and Amelia, truly adore their brother, my husband. Even when they visit our house, they don't show much interest in me. It's tough with both of them always clinging to him and calling him Aaron. However, their deep trust and pride in him show how reliable he is. I found it in dealing with Olivia. Your bangs look weird. They're split in the middle. You should fix it. Really? Is it that noticeable? As the wife of my brother, you should look presentable. Wow, you're always so strict with looks. Afterwards, Emma kept pointing out how unsuitable. I stand by my husband, refusing to succumb to the sisters' attempts to force agreement. Despite their insistence, my kind and wonderful husband never once aligns with them. You two don't truly understand Olivia's good side, he always asserts with absolute conviction. Suddenly, Emma and Amelia, looking displeased, retreat home. I'm sorry for always putting you through this, Olivia. It's because I've spoiled them. My husband apologizes, as he often does. They always end up being rude to you. After her sisters depart, my husband offers his comforting presence, a consistent source of solace. That's the kind of husband he is, which is why he's so attractive, I muse inwardly. Furthermore, he excels in his career, showcasing remarkable talent week after week. The following week, we embark on a visit to his parents' house to celebrate my mother-in-law's birthday. A mere 15-minute drive separates our home from hers, with an MTA station and the city's main shopping area in between. For her birthday gift, we opt for a beautiful sweater. My active mother-in-law frequents the gym, enjoys dining out, and relishes travels with friends. During our shopping trip, my husband accompanies me, admiring the chosen garment. It looks lovely, he remarks, reinforcing his support and appreciation. When we gave her the present, she was thrilled. Thank you as always, Olivia. This is so lovely. My friends are throwing me a birthday party next week, and I'm thinking of wearing it then. It's great. We always appreciate you, Olivia. My mother-in-law and father-in-law always acknowledge and respect me greatly. When I decided to marry my husband and first met them, to be honest, the atmosphere was a bit awkward. Both of my in-laws seemed to have stiff expressions and I felt a distance, which made me uneasy. I later learned that my husband had once considered marrying another woman 8 years ago and had introduced her to his parents. However, her attitude towards her potential in-laws wasn't good, and it became clear through discussions that she was only interested in my husband's looks, and eventually the marriage was cut off. Therefore, initially, my in-laws were concerned that I might be another woman who was only interested in their son's appearance. However, after a while, my in-laws seemed to be reassured that I'm not interested only in his looks. Now, we have built a very good relationship. Byron, you're here. Emma, who had just finished her part-time job, came home. Byron, there is something. I want to tell you, I've decided to get married. Really? Congratulations, Emma. While I was surprised to hear about Emma's decision to get married, I noticed that my in-laws looked worried. She's going to marry a man from the restaurant where she worked part-time. He is 40, 12 years older than her. I thought my in-laws were concerned about the age gap, but they were actually worried that the man seems to have no savings. Despite their warnings, Emma insisted he is wonderful and kind, perhaps even resembling her brother, and that she can persuade him to start saving money. Even though Emma feels that everything is fine, it seems that the in-laws are not so easily convinced. My husband seemed to understand the situation and said, "Is that so, Emma? Is he a good person?" He listened intently to her story about him. 2 weeks later, my sister-in-law visited our apartment again. We had dinner ready for them since they were coming in the evening. As we all enjoyed dinner together, my husband said, "This hamburger steak is one of Olivia's specialties. It's so delicious, right?" I immediately reacted with apparent annoyance. "It doesn't seem like a big job. I can cook this too. Don't act like you're a good chef, Olivia." Exactly. Making hamburger steak is too easy. Despite this, the topic turned to Emma's impending marriage. "Emma, don't you think it's a bit too soon? Haven't you only been dating for 2 months? Maybe you could take a bit more time to get to know each other better," my husband suggested. Emma, usually obedient to him, grew angry. "Mind your own business, Aaron. I've already made up my mind. He might seem unreliable, but he is a kind and good person. I love him. He may not be impressive, but he's honest and cute. I'm going to marry him." "Emma, even though he is 20 years older than you, I don't see him as the honest and cute person you are imagining. It might be better to watch and wait a bit." "Why are you intervening too? Are you mocking me? Who do you think you are?" "That's right. Emma has made up her mind. Let's go, Amelia. I've had enough." In anger, Emma left her apartment with Amelia. Several days later. "Amelia, I've come up with something interesting." "What is it?" "Remember last time when Olivia started to act like a big sister?" It seemed Emma was still angry about the advice that I've given her about her marriage. Emma's interesting idea was, one day, I stopped at an ATM on my way home from work. There was a credit card left at the ATM. The card belonged to someone named Isabella Smith, coincidentally having the same surname as me, Smith. A sticker with the PIN number was attached, making the card easily usable by anyone. As I learned to turn it into the police, I constantly ran into my sister's in-laws on my way. "Hey Olivia, are you on your way home right now?" Emma asked. "Yes, I am. It's rare to see you here," I replied. "Olivia, I'm really hungry. Can you treat us to some food?" Emma requested. I was very surprised. This was so unlikely of her. "Really? Of course I would. Let me check with Aaron. Just wait a moment." When I sent a message to Aaron, he replied saying he'd be late and told me to go ahead. "What are you in the mood to eat?" I asked. "I'd like some pasta," Emma said. "Me too. I want pasta," Amelia chimed in. Following their request, the three of us headed to a fancy Italian restaurant. Emma ordered pescatelle and Amelia ordered bolognese. I ordered carbonara. We talked about my husband while eating, enjoying hearing stories of how he protected them from bullies and helped them with their studies. Our pasta arrived, and as we were eating and chatting, suddenly Amelia exclaimed, "Oh, I'm sorry." Some of her bolognese sauce had splashed onto my white shirt, leaving a big stain. "Olivia, you might want to go to the restroom to clean that stain," Emma suggested. "You're right, I should," I agreed. Heading to the restroom, I left my seat with just my handkerchief. By the time I returned as the boss had finished their meals. Quickly, I ate the remaining pasta and we left the restaurant. "I'm really sorry about staining your shirt," Amelia apologized. "It's all right, it wasn't a special shirt anyway," I reassured her. "Thanks for the treat today," Emma said. "You're welcome. It was really fun hearing stories about Aaron. Let's do it again," I suggested. "Yeah, let's. See ya. Take care," they bid farewell. It was so happy to finally have a proper conversation with my sisters-in-law. However, I completely forgot about the credit card I had collected at the ATM. Turns out, Emma had gotten a hold of it. "That was so easy. That stupid woman, she's so clueless," Emma remarked. "It's not like I wanted her to treat us to a meal. She really should have noticed. She said the shirt wasn't special, right? Well, it didn't look expensive. Also, she has a card made under the fake name Mia," Amelia added. "Really? That's suspicious. People say you can judge a book by its cover." "Hey, what if she was a criminal?" Emma pondered. Their aim was not a dinner together, but my credit card. Specifically, Emma wanted to use my card to pay for an extravagant honeymoon. However, I did not have a credit card. But that evening, Emma booked her honeymoon to Hawaii using the card. I discovered it was an extravagant plan involving a stay at a luxury hotel. The following month, I heard from Aaron that Emma got married without the ceremony and left for her honeymoon. Emma kept talking about marriage, but I thought she was just dreaming. I wonder if she is alright. I have a feeling there's something off about her partner. While having dinner with my husband, I got a call from Emma. As soon as I answered, I heard an extremely excited voice say, "Thanks for the $30,000 gift." "Wait, Emma, aren't you on your honeymoon in Hawaii?" I asked. "That's right, I'm calling from Hawaii right now," she exclaimed. "Sounds like you're having fun, but what do you mean by a $30,000 gift? I paid for this entire animal with your credit card, so you will have to cover the church," Emma revealed. "What do you mean? I used your credit card to pay for everything," she confessed. "What? I don't have a credit card," I exclaimed. "Huh? I thought this card was yours," Emma replied, confusion evident in her voice. After a while, Emma returned from her honeymoon. She was questioned by Aaron and the in-laws for the details, and she eventually spilled the beans. According to Emma, she wanted to go on a honeymoon and also wanted to get back at me for interfering in her marriage. She thought it would be a good idea to pay for the honeymoon using my credit card. She had plotted beforehand, unbeknownst to me, and using the excuse of treating me to a meal, she stole the credit card from my bag. However, the credit card was not mine. Emma committed a crime by unauthorized use of a stranger's credit card, spending $30,000 in total. This is a serious issue. We contacted the credit card company and tried to negotiate a settlement with the owner. Surprisingly, the credit card owner turned out to be our relative, Isabella. Considering the family relationship, we thought the settlement would go smoothly. However, this particular relative was quite eccentric. For some reason, she had a grudge against my mother-in-law and was not someone who would easily forgive us. Together with my in-law's husband and Emma, we visited Isabella's house to apologize. I deeply apologize for what Emma has done. Of course, we will immediately return the $30,000. Isn't this an unauthorized card usage? Doesn't she know that this is a serious crime? Of course, Emma always acts without thinking of the consequences, and this time she used $30,000. We are truly sorry. Give me a reason why I shouldn't go to the police. Forgive her. We're family, right? A crime is a crime, whether we are related or not. It doesn't matter. Also, will Emma herself repay the $30,000 she used without permission? Emma is a part-timer with no savings, so I will initially take on the responsibility of repayment. Do you think just repaying the money will resolve this? Don't joke with me. The discussion between the father-in-law and Isabella didn't progress and ended up dragging on, finally deciding to discuss it again on another day. Later, on the third visit, Isabella finally agreed to the father-in-law paying the $30,000. Moreover, she then demanded an additional compensation of $5,000. The father-in-law complied, even with this unreasonable demand, and transferred a total of $35,000 to the end account. Subsequently, Emma ended up owing $35,000 to her father. To ensure she wouldn't default, a legally valid promissory note was also prepared. Emma's husband, who went on a honeymoon to Hawaii with her, disappeared as soon as he found out about Emma's debt of $35,000. To protect himself, he initiated a divorce and fled from his newlywed wife, Emma. Moreover, he quickly started living with another woman before the divorce procedures were even finalized. He is a 40-year-old man who is 12 years older than Emma, without any savings and can hold a job, but apparently he had a way with the ladies. Emma married him, being charmed by his unreliable yet cute demeanor. I do feel a bit of sympathy for Emma. Furthermore, Emma is the same age as Jacqueline, who is the daughter of Isabella, the owner of the credit card. They went to the same school from elementary to high school, but they were in different classes and had a competitive relationship rather than a friendly one. Jacqueline spread the word to their classmates. Emma is a criminal with a debt of $35,000. Watch out for her. Be careful with your wallet. Consequently, even Emma's old friends started distancing themselves from her. However, after these events, Emma's attitude towards me changed. They used to be competitive with me, but they have slowly started to respect me, and they plan to visit my house again tomorrow. They want me to teach them how to make hamburger steak.
Hi, my name is Bella. My husband and I have been married for 2 years. I had a terrible time finding love until I was 27 years old. I went to an elite middle and high school for girls only, and then I went to a university for women only. After I graduated, I got a job as a receptionist at a big company. As you might expect, all of my coworkers were women. For most of the people in my social circle, business leaders would ask them to parties, but not me. I never went to those kinds of events. It was easy to understand why talking to guys made me so nervous that I couldn't even speak. People often told me how nice I looked, and I was asked out a few times. There were some nice guys at dinner, but they always told me, "You're pretty, but there's not much else to you." After that, it happened. The door to my fate opened. Can I ask Bella to go on a date with me? This is what Lex, who worked for one of our clients and always checked in at my desk, told me. Since he would only give me his contact information, people around us thought we were dating, but it wasn't true. I just smiled at him when he tried to start a conversation, like I did with everyone else. I really thought I would always be single, but when he told me, everything changed. May I suggest that we begin our relationship as friends? That was my answer. Got off guard. He nodded so excitedly that it looked like his head would fall off. He smiled as he walked into the office. I had never done that before. Guy questions like, "Want to have dinner?" had always been the norm up until now. "Free tonight." But when I was with Lex, I didn't get that sense. I only felt love. I was so happy. I went on a few dates with him, but I was still nervous and didn't talk much. The moment I knew he liked me for who I was, I knew. Is it possible for you and I to be together? To the point of tears, he was so happy. All of this took place on Christmas 2 years ago. At that moment, I was very happy and thought I would always have someone so loving in my life. But there was a hole in his armor when his business failed. Now it's been 2 years, and I'm 29. "Lex, you should probably wake up now," I told my husband, who was still asleep. Then I put on my shoes and left the house. I'm the only one making money for our family right now. My husband's business went out of business 6 months ago, and he hasn't had a job since. It's been hard for him to find a job. This business is in a bad field, and the economy is also bad. Sometimes he gets an offer for a job that pays only $2,000 a month, which makes it hard for him to commit to a new job. Even with all of this, I still support him. Our love isn't so shallow that it would fade if one of us lost our job. My pay has always been pretty low. We've never lived a fancy life. We rent a 2-bedroom flat that is more than 30 years old. It's a 30-minute walk from the train stop, and the building isn't safe. But I was ready to give up a lot of things so that we could keep living together. I thought my husband might still be upset about his company going out of business. He had a few job offers, and I waited calmly because I thought he'd find a good fit and feel better. But my hope was short-lived, and he kept getting worse. Even taking out his anger on me by raising his hand sometimes was a sign of his stress. He didn't leave any permanent marks, and I thought he must be hurting more than I was. So I put up with it because I wanted to help. Then, after a few days, he finally got a new job. He quit the business he was in before and went into a whole new one. He took the job because the new place was ready to hire him, even though he didn't have much experience. I felt better when he got it because I knew I wouldn't have to be his hitting bag anymore. I thought he might be getting violent, but it looked like it was just a phase. He is now working hard at his new job and was even given the title of team leader. It's been a year, and I just turned 30. I was excited about having kids soon, but the loving man I married didn't seem to be there anymore. I told you I liked toast. Now tell me why you made pancakes. Also, take out the pit if you're going to serve fruit. Little things started to make my husband mad, and he started saying mean things. "Really, do you need to talk that way? Lex, you're an adult now." I snapped back. "Take out the pit yourself." I was getting angry. In response, he hit the wall with his hand, which scared me. I don't like to argue, but I know in my heart that what he's doing is mental abuse. Recently, I've tried not to upset him, but we've been fighting a lot, and I'm tired of it. When he took it out on me, that's when I lost it. It looked like the stress of his new job was to blame. Soon after, he was made team leader, which showed how good he was. Now everyone tells him he's going to be a department head very soon. He couldn't handle the extra stress, so he started hitting me, who was an easy target. In fact, I quit my job at 30 to stay at home and raise my kids. When I got into my 30s, I'd always planned to quit my job as a receptionist and do something I really enjoyed. Since my husband knew this, I stopped at age 30 as planned. He doesn't seem to like it though. Women need to work too these days. You should know that my pay is enough to take care of both of us. Do you even value the people who have taken care of you? He moans while he eats, then gets his bag and goes to work. I was there for him when he didn't have a job. So why am I being blamed now? That's when I started to mentally distance myself from him. When I got home one day, there were shoes I didn't recognize at the door. There was my mother-in-law in the living room, which caught me off guard. "Well, Mom, why are you here?" My mom told me straight out, "Didn't Lex tell you?" When I went up to her, "From today on, I'm moving in." This is something I've never heard before. Over time, I learned that my husband had suggested that my mother-in-law move, and because she was lonely after the death of my father-in-law. Of course, no one asked me that. While I was still shocked, my mother-in-law told me to start making dinner. It shows how valuable a housewife is to take care of her family, so she told her, "Get to work." Even though I was angry and confused, I went to the kitchen to make dinner. Then Lex's mother-in-law came in and said, "Lex hates burgers." The food was almost ready. This is rubbish. The dish was almost done when she threw it away. I was seated inside, but strangely, words failed me when I was faced with this surprise event. I couldn't say anything, so I just listened as my mother-in-law went on. She then started going through the fridge and cooking without asking. I finally calmed down and told my mom, "Hold on." I made a list of meals for the week and then went shopping. As soon as I said that, he dumped flour on my head, making me cough. I kept watching her make her food, and then she told me to clean up. When my husband finally got home, he was thrilled to see the meal. Yes, this is the kind of food I want. It's better to eat fried food than salad. He walked past me and happily sat down to eat with his mom. My heart felt like it had been smashed and black ink had been dropped on it at that moment. Following that, my mother-in-law continued to bother me every day, and my husband continued to hurt my feelings. I felt like I didn't belong in this house, and even though my husband wanted to be close to me, I couldn't because of the situation. As a 30-something woman, I have been putting off having a child because I don't want to have a kid with this abusive man. The last straw finally broke. My wife's mom asked me to take her to the hospital because she was sick. Even though I didn't want to be with her, I had to take her to the hospital, even though I didn't want to. But when I went to get her, a social worker told me to go to a different room. She told her, "You must be having a hard time taking care of the kids and doing all the housework by yourself. But taking it out on your husband and mother-in-law isn't good." It turns out that my mother-in-law was saying that I hurt her when I fell. Even worse, she had been to the hospital more than once and asked about me each time. It looks like she picked today to deal the last hit. The social worker blamed me because she didn't know the whole story. You should look out for kids and old people more. During that time, our family hasn't had any children. When I was told I might need psychological help, I had had enough. You broke my rights, so I'll sue you. It's not you who is being mistreated here, it's me. I showed proof that my husband abused me and that my mother-in-law burned me on purpose. The social worker said she had to check with my mother-in-law, but I told her no and left the hospital by myself. Soon after, my husband and mother-in-law came home. My husband heard from my mother-in-law that I was mean to her. My husband shook his head and said, "You're leaving me, you parasite. How dare you leave my mother?" What kind of lie did my mother-in-law tell you? Based on her fake tears, I think she did it again. I was sick of telling her she was wrong, so I left the house without noticing either of them. I didn't go home that day. Instead, I stayed the night in a work hotel. I was lucky to have my wallet and cell phone with me, and it was easy to find a charger. I chose to avoid both of them for a while and not go back home. But as I walked by the house one day, I saw a woman in her 50s who lived across the street from our apartment. I was beginning to worry. I haven't seen you around. She also told me that your mom told her that you and your husband are going on vacation for about a week. When I heard that, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Then I asked myself, if not now, when? I called the moving company right away and asked them to help me move out as soon as possible. It was a little more expensive, but I didn't have much stuff, and the movers were able to get it all to my parents' house in just 3 days. Let's see how my husband and his mother react, since they have no idea how much I've helped with the house. They put me down when they don't know anything about me, and I won't forgive them. After moving, I went back to my parents' house because their house was empty. After a few days, my husband called me. "Where are you, Bella? There is no one in your room." When my husband found out what was going on, he kept asking me where I was. I told him, "Not your business. By the way, I've already filed for divorce because you've said you wanted to do it before. Sign them and send them in." After I hung up the phone with him, I stopped calling his number. After that, my life became peaceful. I did yoga, made breakfast, and then sat down with my parents at the table. I had lunch with my mom and dinner with my family again. That's how I felt, but it was comfort and happiness I hadn't felt in a long time. When I told my parents to thank you, they were surprised, but they were happy to see me. When my husband found out I was at my parents' house, he waited nearby for me. When I saw him, I tried to run away, but he caught up and grabbed my arm. "Call me Bella. Let's go home. Without you, the house is a mess." I yelled, "Help me," as his hold got tighter. As I was being helped, a high school boy in his sports uniform came by and called the cops. A businessman nearby also helped. Since the cops were there, my husband quietly left. But as expected, my angry mother-in-law stormed into my parents' house. "How dare you make fun of my son in public? Oh, you and your family are a shame." Finally, I stopped my dad from going up to them and told him, while I was doing that, my mother-in-law was outside our house making threats and even talking about defamation lawsuits. Dad was about to lose it and talk to her about it, but I stopped him. "Okay, I'm ready to settle this." I called my husband, who was standing next to my mother-in-law when the call came in. He told her straight out, "I know you're cheating, and I have proof. I'm going to sue you for abuse and get money when we get divorced." My husband became scared when he heard this. After hearing rumors that he was going to a hotel with a coworker, I actually paid a detective to find proof of his cheating. I had a lot of proof. I even went to the hospital and got a note saying I was healthy in case they tried something. I had also recorded talks in case I needed proof. I was going to talk to my husband and his mother about it when I was ready mentally, but I'm not going to be quiet when they insult my parents. My mother-in-law has also been stealing money from my pocket. I've heard that the house is in terrible shape and even smells bad since I left. People in the neighborhood are complaining, right? My husband didn't know what to say. A friend told me this story. They said my husband and his mother were not in town. It looks like they haven't been doing simple things like picking through the trash, and the house has become a dump. Besides that, I heard that the property management gets reports every day about the loud fights they have. Now my husband might understand how much I helped the family and want me to return, but it's too late. I'm not coming back to live happily ever after with your mom. After I said that, I put the phone down. Soon after, my wife's mom tried to break down my front door. They were both arrested after I called the cops. After the fact, my neighbor told me that they hadn't taken care of any of the complaints through the management business. The drama finally got so bad that it cleared out the whole apartment building. The management finally went to court against both of them for not paying rent, ignoring complaints, and making business difficult. They were being sued for money damages. They were finally told by the court to leave and pay money for harm. They can't rent anywhere now because they're on a list of people who can't rent. It turned out that the rent wasn't paid because my husband made a mistake at work that cost a lot of money and caused him to lose his job. He quit his job and moved far away because he couldn't find another place to live in the area. He then ran into another problem when he tried to find new work. He became homeless, which made his mother steal from stores. She was arrested for hitting a store worker who tried to talk to her. I read about this in the news online. I have no idea what comes next, and I don't want to know. When I got divorced, I started working at the coffee shop of my dreams. Someone I work with who is 5 years younger than me and I became friends. I got married again when I was 34. We opened our dream cafe when we were 40, and now I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant at a late age, but I've never been happy. A man showed up at our door, saying my daughter ran off without paying $3,000 at his fancy steakhouse, said Bill. He claimed to be the head chef, but I couldn't believe it. I'm Layla, 30 years old, living with my husband Daniel and our daughter Emma. There was no way Emma could do such a thing. I stood firm against their fierce expressions, defending my daughter's innocence. I was tricked by an ex-boyfriend who took $3,000 from me and then disappeared when I found out I was pregnant with his baby. I tried to contact him, but he was gone. I was left alone, divorced and almost broke. But I didn't give up. I had Emma and was ready to face whatever came next. Then the news came that my ex was arrested. The man who told me was Daniel, now my husband. He stood by me through everything, even though I was tired and worn out. Despite our age gap, I was drawn to Daniel's strength and reliability. I worried he wouldn't accept me because I was divorced, but he did. Now we're happily together, with a good relationship with Daniel's parents. One day, I got a call from Daniel's parents. My mother-in-law's voice, full of warmth, asked if we could visit. They wanted to see their granddaughter, whom they adore despite not being related by blood. I happily agreed and promised to let Daniel know. After exchanging pleasantries, my mother-in-law ended the call. It takes about 5 hours to reach their countryside home from the city where we live. When Daniel returned home in the evening, I excitedly told him about the invitation from his parents. "Well, I haven't taken any vacation this month yet," he replied. "Let's take some time off and go see them. I'll ask my boss if we can have a few days off in a row," Daniel suggested eagerly, dialing his boss for permission. Thankfully, his boss agreed, and we began looking forward to reuniting with his parents after a long while. However, on the day of our visit, Daniel suddenly had to work. "You go ahead. I'll join you as soon as I'm done. It might be late, possibly not until tomorrow morning," he explained, kissing us goodbye before heading to the office. I quickly informed my in-laws about the change of plans and then embarked on the journey with my daughter. As soon as we arrived at my in-laws' house, they welcomed us warmly, and we settled in comfortably. They were eagerly awaiting Daniel's arrival. The next morning, my in-laws went about their usual routine, heading to the barn. I offered to help, but they insisted I relax and enjoy my visit, so I stayed behind, waiting for their return. Suddenly, the doorbell rang too early for Daniel's arrival. Assuming it was a neighbor, I hurried to answer it. "I'm coming," I called out, opening the door to find a stern-looking man in his 70s standing there. He glared at me and then demanded, "I own the local steakhouse. Your daughter ate there and left without paying. You owe me $3,000. His words caught me off guard, and I blinked in surprise. He went on to explain that a young girl had visited his restaurant the previous night. Despite being warned that it was too expensive for her, she consumed $3,000 worth of food and drinks before leaving without paying. He claimed she was my daughter and insisted that as her parent, I should foot the bill. I shake my head, trying to explain, but he's too angry to listen. "Can I know your name?" I ask. "It's Ethan. Now pay up," he snaps back. "I need to check with my in-laws if they know you," I respond. "What? Shouldn't you be paying me instead of wasting time?" "Yes, but please give me a moment." I ask him to wait and quickly call my in-laws to confirm something. They respond fast, revealing a surprising fact. Trying to keep my composure, I turn to the man. "I can't pay you," I tell him. "What? You don't care if my business suffers? If you don't pay, I'll call the police," he threatens. "Please, let's try to sort out this misunderstanding," I plead. "There's no misunderstanding. I got her name when she dined." Ethan insists, reaching for his phone to call the police. A policeman happened to pass by, and the steakhouse owner flagged him down to explain the situation. The officer approached me with a stern look and said, "Can we talk?" Confused and intimidated by his gaze, I didn't know what to do. "Your daughter is suspected of dining and dashing. If things remain unresolved, we'll have to take her into custody," he informed me, insisting that I hand over my daughter immediately. "No, there's been a mistake. My daughter wouldn't do such a thing." I protested, but the officer remained firm. Sensing the tension, the steakhouse owner intervened, offering a compromise. "I'm not heartless. If you can pay, I'll forgive her. After all, we're neighbors," he said, looking at me. "Are you sure about this, Ethan?" The officer asked. "Of course. She's just a young girl. It's an honor she wanted to eat at my place," Ethan replied with a laugh. The officer then presented me with an option. "Ethan is giving you a way out. Pay the $3,000 bill and he won't press charges." Despite the pressure, I stood firm in my decision. As I tried to explain, the steakhouse owner's face turned red with anger, and he shouted, "You're rejecting my kindness. Is this how you've taught your daughter to behave? Don't play games with me. Please calm down. Why are you refusing to pay? If you don't, your daughter will face serious consequences." The police officer interjected, looking puzzled. "I can't agree to this without considering all the facts," I responded, but the steakhouse owner interrupted with a laugh, saying, My apologies. Are you saying you don't have $3,000 on you right now? No worries. We all forget things as we get older. We do accept credit cards at our establishment. If you trust me with your card, I can process the payment now and return it to you later. How does that sound?" With that, he gestured for me to fetch my wallet. I declined to hand over my credit card, expressing concern about the risk, and instead offered to accompany him to settle the payment. However, the steakhouse owner responded with threats, raising his fist and shouting, "Don't you trust me? I'm in the credit business. Be careful what you say, or you'll regret it." When I insisted on accompanying him, he became agitated, yelling, "You're disrespecting me. I have connections with influential organizations. If you can't pay, I have ways to make you pay $3,000. That's why I've involved the police." Shocked by his words, I looked to the police officer for assistance, but he avoided eye contact, feigning ignorance. "Officer, did you hear that? Is this allowed?" I asked, seeking help. The officer avoided the question, stating, "I didn't hear anything. Just pay the money and everything will be resolved." "Layla, just follow instructions," the officer insisted sternly. I was stunned. How could a police officer say that? I felt bewildered as the steakhouse owner continued to intimidate me with his threats. Most people would give in to their demands to avoid trouble, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Aren't the police supposed to protect citizens? Why are they siding with him? Despite my desperate pleas, the officer remained silent, refusing to intervene. Feeling helpless, I turned to the steakhouse owner. "Why won't you listen?" he growled, glaring at me. "It's not that I'm not taking you seriously. I can't believe I'm in this situation." I thought to myself, steadfastly refusing to comply, but neither the officer nor the steakhouse owner seemed willing to listen to reason. As I pondered my next move, a taxi pulled up outside our house, and my husband stepped out, looking puzzled. "What's going on?" "Who are these people?" he asked, bewildered. "Sir, your wife needs to take responsibility." "Let me explain," the officer began, but my husband's expression quickly changed to surprise as he listened. Then, with a mischievous grin, he seemed to understand everything. "Sorry for the confusion. My apologies. By the way, officer, which department do you work for? Can I see your badge?" My husband inquired suddenly, catching everyone off guard. The officer hesitated but eventually produced his badge from his pocket. This looks suspicious," my husband remarked, causing the officer to start sweating nervously. Daniel chuckles and says, "Just kidding." The police officer, visibly relieved, manages a forced smile. Daniel then asks about the officer's department and rank. "Is that necessary right now?" The officer responds nervously. "I'm just curious," Daniel says. "I'm a constable stationed at the police box," the officer answers. "Ah, I see. You must be new around here. Thanks for your service," Daniel replies politely. Yes, I'm still getting acquainted. Would you mind if I contact your station? Can I use the name on your badge? Daniel asks, pulling out his phone. Before he can proceed, the officer interrupts. Before we get into that, can you tell me if you're able to pay for Ethan's bill? He urges Daniel for an answer regarding the payment issue. The steakhouse owner, Ethan, appeared taken aback by my husband's assertiveness, his earlier aggression dissipating. You're the husband, so take responsibility, Ethan insisted. Yes, but I don't have a job that pays that much. Daniel responded calmly. That doesn't excuse dodging your bills, Ethan retorted. Unperturbed, Daniel shrugged. Anyway, he continued, can you tell me your gun's serial number? Ethan looked confused. Why? He asked. It's a standard verification method, Daniel explained. Knowing the number doesn't pose a risk. It's widely accepted. The police officer, also puzzled, questioned Daniel's request. Is that so? He inquired. Observing their reactions, my suspicions grew stronger. By the way, Daniel interjected, giving them a stern look. Would you like to hear my take on this dine and dash incident? They both seemed puzzled by his unexpected suggestion. In conclusion, you're a phony cop trying to run a scam with that old man, my husband accused, catching them off guard. Do you have any proof? They retorted. Then prove I'm wrong, my husband challenged. Turning to me, he said, Lee, bring her here. I rushed to bring our precious child forward, positioning her in front of us to prevent any harm. Daniel stood protectively between us. My daughter is only 1 year old. She can't even walk, let alone dine and dash, he asserted. The two were stunned, mouths agape. That's impossible. Is that really Aria Taylor? Ethan questioned. Of course. I'm only 30 years old. When else could I have had my first child? I countered. Ethan, visibly shaken, took a step back, exchanging a glance with the police officer who nodded in agreement. It seems there's been a mistake. Sorry for the confusion, they stammered, preparing to leave. Daniel intervened, blocking their escape routes as they attempted to leave. I retreated to the entrance, observing through a gap in the door. Can you step aside, please? The officer demanded. No, we won't let you go. You might be scammers, and we won't allow it, Daniel countered firmly. Don't try to intimidate us. I'm a police officer. If you don't move, I'll arrest you for obstructing an investigation, the officer threatened, attempting to push past Daniel, but he swiftly moved to block him again. I apologize for not introducing myself earlier. I'm Daniel Taylor, Chief Inspector of the New York Investigation Division, Daniel announced, revealing his genuine police badge. Unlike the officers, Daniel's badge gleamed with authenticity. Who's the liar now? I'm the real deal, he declared confidently. Whether you're genuine or not, you've engaged in fraud, correct? It's a disgrace for someone in law enforcement. Do you even understand the role of the investigation division? Daniel pressed. What are you talking about? You're clueless about the investigation division, he continued. The division handles complex crimes like fraud, embezzlement, counterfeiting, election violations, financial crimes, defamation, and high-tech offenses. In simpler terms, it deals with criminals like you, Daniel explained sternly. With that, he swiftly produced handcuffs and began to arrest them. Unable to resist Daniel's professional approach, the two were quickly subdued. Daniel wasted no time in contacting the authorities. I've apprehended fraudsters on the scene. This is beyond my jurisdiction. Please dispatch officers from the appropriate area immediately, he instructed over the phone. As they heard Daniel's call, the scammers' faces drained of color. Please forgive us. We were desperate for money. It's our first offense. Please let us go, they pleaded. Just then, my in-laws arrived with the police. Are you all right? Sorry for the delay. This guy was terrible at explaining things. My in-laws apologized. It's all right. Wait, you're here too. What a relief, I responded as they embraced me and our daughter. I had been on edge throughout the ordeal, but finally I could relax and exhale a sigh of relief as the two fraudsters were escorted into a police car. Initially, I had suspected only the old man to be involved in the scam. When I phoned my in-laws, I inquired if anyone named Ethan resided nearby. They were unfamiliar with the name, having lived in the area for years and knowing all the residents. Their lack of recognition confirmed that this Ethan was not a local. Moreover, considering my daughter's age of just 1, it was implausible for her to have been involved in any dine and dash scheme. Though I hadn't explicitly requested it, my in-laws grasped the urgency of the situation and promised to summon the police. While awaiting their arrival, I felt a surge of tension, resolved to safeguard my daughter. I had sensed something amiss with the police officer from the moment he appeared. As our conversation progressed, my distrust towards him only deepened. Although I lacked concrete evidence initially, Daniel's interrogation ultimately confirmed my suspicions of his falsity. Thankfully, Daniel's presence had averted a potential disaster this time. However, the thought of what could have transpired in his absence sent shivers down my spine. I'm truly relieved that everything ended safely. With Daniel's assistance and the local authorities' involvement, the case regarding the 2 fraudsters was swiftly resolved. Upon investigation, it became evident that numerous charges awaited them. Daniel recounted the details to me, wearing a mixture of sadness and anger on his face. Surprisingly, it turned out that these individuals were not affiliated with any organization, and their exploits garnered nationwide attention through the news. Thanks to Daniel and my considerate in-laws, I was able to spend an extra day at their home. The news of Daniel's heroic actions spread rapidly, prompting our neighbors to bring over an array of delicacies, turning our gathering into an impromptu celebration. Even our daughter seemed to revel in the joyous atmosphere, remaining cheerful throughout the evening. That night, as I gazed at my daughter's contented face, I couldn't help but bask in the warmth of our happiness.